If you know that the Lord is here in the sanctuary, come on and give him praise and glory in this place today. Come on and bless his name in this place today. Amen. We praise and magnify the name of the Lord today. For the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and find safety. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. You can come and lay down all the burdens that you have carried. For in the sanctuary, in the sanctuary, in the sanctuary, God is here. We bless and magnify his name for his goodness to us. And we thank God for this place where we can come and lay down the burdens that we have carried. For just a few minutes, as we just simply put an exclamation point on all the singing and the songs and the poems and the speeches and the dramatizations we've had all day, and even up at North, they had some wonderful poems and all of that, and so many of our people were sharing in such wonderful ways. We bless the Lord for that. But just so that in case you're in need of a little encouragement as you go through this week, this last week of the year, let's go to the book of Micah chapter 5. The text was read earlier in your hearing. And verses 2 through 5a, 2 through 5a. And you'll find these words. I'm reading in the New Living Translation. And the Lord is in the sanctuary. We want him to what? Speak, Lord, speak, Lord. Yeah. But you, O Bethlehem Ephratah, are only a small village among all the people of Judah. Yet a ruler of Israel, whose origins are in the distant past, will come from you on my behalf. The people of Israel will be abandoned to their enemies until the woman in labor gives birth. Then at last his fellow countrymen will return from exile to their own land. And he will stand to lead his flock with the Lord's strength in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God. Then his people will live there undisturbed, for he will be highly honored around the world. And the A portion of that verse 5 is where we rest in this text and preachment. And he will be the source of peace. And he will be the source of peace. For just a few moments, check the source. Check the source. Would you tell a brother or sister nearby you, somebody nearby you, what we're talking about? Check the source. This week, for the third time in 2018, a portion of the federal government has shut down. 420,000 with suspended pay. And to come to the last week of the year and to have your livelihood in limbo while 45 is golfing at Mar-a-Lago and your tax dollars are keeping his private golf course. It doesn't sit too well with most folks. This past month, and now going into the last trading week of the month, has seen economic indicators and the market, stock market, go to 2008 levels, which is kind of scary. And we've seen a decline that was atypical in and we hadn't seen that kind of percentage decline since 1931. Climate change is impacting this globe, whether or not those who choose to believe it exists or not. It is happening. And just this week, they are still recording tremors in Alaska from an earthquake that happened 1 week after Black Friday, after the report came out. Those tremors are creating still problems. And so on the other side of the ocean, Indonesia had yet another tsunami. 20 confirmed dead at last I checked. Now that's real news. I didn't say it's good news. I said it's real news. And I say that for a reason, because there is some other information. There is some interference. There are some bogus stories that are made up to deter and deteriorate our confidence, to erode our perspective and consume our belief system. And this has become known as fake news. That there's real news and then there's fake news. And if the world just had real news and fake news, we'd be in a mess. But I got some good news. Anybody want some good news? In times like these, it's important to know where your help really does come from. It's in times like these that we need the kind of help that can concretely and confidently change our condition and transform our situations. I know somebody who brings good news and hope in times like these. How many of us need a little help every now and then? You need a little help every now and then. So somebody said, I need more help now than I will know about then. That's all right too. If you need help, here's one of the things that you want to first do. You want to first check in with the source of true help and deliverance. So now, on this last Sunday of Advent, as we go into the last week of the year, celebrating Christmas, it's a good time to check in with the source. You want to check in with it for just a few minutes, and then I'll be out your way, and then we can continue our celebration throughout this wonderful week. Let's go to the text. I like Brother Micah. Micah and Isaiah are two prophets who are prophesying around the same time. And like two preachers from two different pulpits, they read each other's sermons and they read each other's notes. And so oftentimes you hear Micah say something and you'll go back and see, well, Isaiah came along and said it too. Or sometimes you'll see Isaiah say something and then you'll see that Micah came along and said it also. And so what God gave to Isaiah, he gave to Isaiah. What God gave to Micah, he gave to Micah. And so he gave to Micah this revelation. He said, let me talk to you about the source of help. Here it is. Point number one, help can come from small places. I think they got it up there on the screen. Help can come from what? Look at the verse. It says, "Oh, Bethlehem, Ephratah, you are only a small village among all the people of Judah." How many of you are from small towns? Amen. I'm from a small town. Amen. My town graduated. I went to see it this year. I hadn't been there since 1981, and then the time when I was born there. And they now have 3 stoplights. I'm so glad. Isn't that something? I'm from a small town called Milton, Pennsylvania, over in eastern Pennsylvania, a little bit outside of Philadelphia. Small things. And so Micah says, hey, your ruler is coming from a small place. Really? Well, what does Bethlehem mean? Bethlehem means house of bread. And when he says adds Ephratah to it, it is saying a house of bread that is fruitful. And out of this house of bread that is fruitful, out of this small place comes somebody who can change your life. Do you need some help every now and then? Don't be surprised if help comes out of the most unusual places at the unusual time from some of the most unlikely sources, because God majors in doing big things in small places. I had to check something out. I just was Googling something, some information that I wanted, and I found out that one of the smallest states in our union is actually one of the healthiest states to live in. That's Hawaii. Now, those of you who be applying for transfers to the AMB Church in Hawaii, please don't do that until the next 17 and a half years are over, and then you can transfer at your pleasure. For those who understand what I'm saying, come on and tell God thank you. But Hawaii is one of the healthiest states to live in, but it's one of the smallest. Sometimes the very small things are the things that can help us the most, and that's why God talked about not despising the day of small beginnings. Because watch this, it is not where you begin that matters, it's where you're going. It's not where you came from, it's where you're heading. And your divine destiny is always more important than where you came from. Not only does help come from small places in just 9.5 minutes, but number two, help has been ordered from a distant past. Do you see that in 2b? Yet a ruler of Israel whose origins are in the distant past will come from you on my behalf. Your help has been ordered from a distant past. And let me say it this way. What you're seeing now in your life already has an answer that has been on the way before your problem arose. Now, wait, let me, I'm going to have to say it at least 3 times because I had to say it to myself again so I could hear it. What you're seeing now in your life already has an answer that has been on the way since before the problem presented itself. You're starting to get that down in your spirit right now. Let me say it one more time. 3rd time is the charm. Let me say it one more time. The problems and the stuff that's coming up in your life, the stuff that has come on the scene in your life right now, the answer to that problem has already been on its way before you even got here. From a distant past. God knows what we need before we existed, so he placed an order in advance of our existence to help us in troubled times. So by the time we get to the trouble, the answer for the trouble has already been on the way since before we got here. That's how we know we can trust in the Lord, because he already has the answer. Ephesians 1:4 says it this way: even before he made the world, God loved us and chose us in Christ to be holy and without fault in his eyes. He can make us what he wants us to be before we're even made, and before we even need to be remade into what he would have us to be. Help has been ordered from a distant past for your life. Point number 3, help also has a set time to manifest. Watch this in your life. Look at verse 3. The people of Israel will be abandoned to their enemies. In other words, God is letting us know, for reasons that, we won't get into now, but sometimes stuff comes up in our life and we have to know it came up because we messed up. Hello. It came up because we messed up. And so the text says that the people of Israel will be abandoned to their enemies until the woman in labor gives birth. We know that woman to be Mary that he's prophesying about. And so God sends help, and his help has a set time to manifest. In other words, all of the things that come up in our life have an expiration date. Did you hear me? Your troubles have an expiration date. Your troubles won't last always. God said, for whatever reasons that we may not always understand, things will come up in our lives. We will have to go through. But when we go through, God has put an expiration date on our troubles. And when he gets there, the trouble has to dissipate in our lives. And so the help we requested will manifest in the time that it is required. And since our help has been ordered from a distant past, it has a specific delivery date and time. Well, Reverend, what does that all mean? Can I just say it this way? Here's how Mom and Daddy used to say it. He might not come. He might not come. Come on, talk to me, somebody. He might not come when you what? Want him to come, but when he does come, he's what? He's always right on time. Yeah, he's always right. So help has a set time to manifest. And then watch the nuance of the text. Because I'm sorry, it was 5 points today. And not 3. I'm sorry, I should have told you that to make room in your paper. But we're on 5 points at 14 minutes and 7 seconds. Point number 4, help comes through strong leadership. Do you see that in the text? It's in verse 4. It says, and he will stand to lead his flock with the Lord's strength. You can't do anything without strength. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And when you're in crisis, we don't need spiritual punks and wimps who run from the challenge. We need some people who can stand to be able to declare what thus saith the Lord. And here's what God is requiring of all of us. If there's ever been a season and a need for strong kingdom leadership and authority, it's right now. You know why? Because in seasons like this, everybody does what they want to do the way they want to do it. And somebody needs to stand up and say, this is what the Lord is saying. How do you lead? You lead in the Lord's strength. How do you stand? You stand in the Lord's power. And when we have strong kingdom leadership from the pulpit all the way to the back door, here's what strong kingdom leadership looks like in days like these. Strong leadership holds to spiritual convictions, practice spiritual disciplines, is centered in spiritual anchor, and is spiritually anchored, and the core is Jesus. Strong leadership stands in the midst of storms and stays the course in the midst of the tempest. Let me say that one more time. If you're going to be a strong soldier for God, you need to be able to hold to your spiritual convictions, practice the spiritual disciplines, be centered in your spiritual anchor, and your core is Jesus, C-O-R-E, your core is Jesus, stands in the midst of storms and stays the course in the midst of a tempest. Did you get that? In other words, when you know what God has called you to do, even though there's a storm, even though there's a tempest, even though there's a test, even though there is temptation, even though there is trials, even though there are tribulations, people who are strong in the Lord are able to stand and still do what God has called them to do. Come hell or high water, you don't worry about public opinion, what this person says, what that person says. I've got a God to glorify. I've got a charge to keep. And I'm going to do what he called me to do, even in times like these. Help comes through strong leadership. You know, and one of my stewards in my former church said to me, and I think I've shared this at Bible study, probably never shared it on Sunday morning while we're streaming live. But we were talking, and Sister Ada McKee, and we were in Bible study, and she said, "Yeah, Reverend, when I first saw you, I thought you were the most arrogant preacher I'd ever seen in my life." And she said that in Bible study, in a full house. And she said, but then I looked a little closer, and I said, that's not arrogance, that's confidence. That's not cockiness, that's confidence. That's a sense of assurance. And so she said, when I started going through struggles and trials and difficulties, she said, I wasn't coming to church to see some wimp in the pulpit talk about, well, I thank the Lord. She said, I want to know somebody who has talked with the Lord and can come and tell me, here's what God says about your trouble. Here's what God says about your tempest. Here's what God says about your difficulty. And so not only in the pulpit, God is looking for leaders. He is looking for folks who walk in kingdom authority to be able to stand up and to declare, here's what is right. Here's what is wrong. Here's what the Lord requires. Here's what he's calling for. And it doesn't matter whatever you're going through. Ain't no devil in hell gonna terrorize me. I put my foot on his neck in the name of Jesus. I cast him out in the name of Jesus. We loose God's people in the name of Jesus. God is calling for strong leadership. And so when Micah is talking about him, he says he will lead in the Lord's strength, because that's the only way you can make it. You know the only way you can make it in what you do from day to day is how? In the Lord's strength. Help has a set time to manifest. Help has a source. Finally, help is your source of peace. Help is your source of peace. Are you there? You got me? Help comes through strong leadership, and then help is your source of peace. And so watch how Micah has described where he's from, what's going on when he gets here, what's going to happen once he arrives, and then who he is for the rest of your life. And watch this. He didn't say he would deliver you peace. The text says he is the source of peace. Yeah, he is the source of peace, which means when he gets there, he doesn't have to do anything else but just get here. Just get here if you can. just get here. And in times like these, it's important to know your source. you ever seen people who come, and you see their faces are all disfigured, and they come, child, honey, bro, man, let me tell you, have you heard? You ever had any of those people in your life? And you have to learn how to say, wait a minute, if what you heard makes you look like that, I don't want to know what you heard. Hello? Because if it's got you looking like that, that's not some news I need. I don't need bad news. I don't need fake news. I don't even want to know the real news right now. All I want is some good news. And since you don't look like you carrying good news, don't bring it here. So sometimes, and I give you permission, sometimes some of the stuff that we did in the world, we trying to get saved. We trying to do better. But you remember this one. I knew you did. Look at that laughing already. So when somebody brings you some otherwise news, you got to teach them how to do what? Yeah, speak to the hand. If it's got you looking jacked up like you looking, I don't want to hear it. All I need is good news. I need the one who can help me. And since it's not bringing you any peace, I don't want to disturb my peace. Keep your garbage and your gossip to yourself. Have you heard? In recent days, and it's becoming such a crazy cycle. I don't know who works. We don't know who works for the president or not, because they just coming and going. I done lost track of names. What number secretary is this, and what number cabinet officer in this, and what number director is this? They coming and going. I figured, well, maybe I slipped my resume in. I might get in there too. Shoot. Yeah, I just throw my resume in there. I ain't got a bit of training for anything y'all doing up in there. But I tell you what, I could probably pray the devil out. That's the part I do know I can do. And it's interesting when we get the news filtered through our different news stations based on their particular political persuasion. And when you hear these news articles, you'll hear this comment: White House sources say. And it seems like there are more sources now than there ever have been. And then the sources get put out, and then they hire new sources, and then they get out and they leave. And it seems like everybody who leaves becomes then a source. And they start getting paid for having been there. In case you hadn't noticed, you can't live off of leaks in the White House. Off of leaks in Congress or anywhere else, or even Annapolis or even Upper Marlboro. We need the true source of peace to be able to make a difference in our lives. And I remember that old commercial. You remember that old commercial? How do you spell relief? ROLAIDS. For believers in this world, how do you spell relief? JESUS. I don't know about you, but I need some relief. I need some help. I need to check back with the source to get what God has for me. Well, there's lots of information flowing these days. And many times there are stories we have now come to know as false news, fake news. This undermines our confidence in social media and the internet sites. And while we can have a speck of confidence in some of the major news outlets, we've also come to experience their bias, which they report based on their political and social positions. People come to you with information. Some of it is bad news, some is fake news, some is good news. Before you receive it, you need to check the source for the intention, the bias, the purpose, and the posture. Like the old saints used to say, if you can't say nothing good, don't say nothing at all. I know that's not correct English, but you got it. And some of the old saints say, when you would bring them all kinds of gossip and garbage, they would say, that ain't edifying. In other words, it doesn't build me up. And since it doesn't build me up and help me on my journey, keep it to yourself. So if you find yourself in this last week of the year and you're a little bit low on hope, check the source. If you are a little bit low on love, check the source. If you are a little bit low on joy, check the source. If you are a little bit low on peace, check the source. And I guarantee you, if you check with the source, it'll change your situation. Oh, I wish I had somebody here. Micah said there's going to be a ruler from Bethlehem in Ephratah. And I'm so glad that Micah knew where he was born. But I had to talk with his pastor across town named Isaiah to find out what his name is. While Micah was on one side of town telling you where he's going to be born, there was Isaiah on the other side of town telling you what his name shall be. His name shall be Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father. And he is what? The Prince of Peace. And by him we live and breathe and move and have our being. Isaiah said, if you keep your mind on him, he will keep you in perfect peace. I don't know about you, but I've reached that point in my life. Don't worry about the house. Ain't worried about the car. Ain't worried about the circumstance. But I want my peace that when I lay down, I can sleep in peace. Heavenly peace. I can sleep with the confidence that while I sleep, he watches over me. That's the kind of peace I need. On my phone. I'm finished. On my phone, I have this app called Noise. And for those, particularly those who have been in military, other professions, some of us, it's hard to sleep with pure quiet. And so we have apps that can imitate a fan or a noise so that our mind can focus on the one thing that drowns out everything else. Did you get it? You can focus on the one thing that drowns out everything else. Now, I like to sleep with the noise of a fan, but the joy of that is it's not the noise that I'm focused on while I sleep. It's that it drowns out everything else so I can sleep in heavenly peace. There's an old song that simply says, oh, what a pretty little baby. Oh, what a pretty little baby. Oh, what a pretty little baby. I think I'll call him Jesus. But then the verse goes on and says, some call him the Prince of Peace. I think I'll call him Jesus. Some call him the Prince of Peace, but I think I'll call him Jesus. And so watch this. He's Jesus in the morning, Jesus in the noonday, Jesus in the evening, and when I lay down, I check with the source. Jesus all night long. He keeps me. He watches over me. He protects me. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Check the source. He is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all. He is my peace. He is my peace. He is my peace. Come on, stand on your feet. All over the building. Hallelujah. Check the source. You have help, but you got to get it from the right source. And I like Brother Micah. He heard Isaiah preach and said he's the Prince of Peace. It's his name. And I don't know who heard who first. I don't know if Isaiah preached it first. And Micah came back. He said, well, I'm going to just take it a little higher. I'm just going to say he is the source of peace. Amen. Did I burn down the church? Amen. It's out. It's out. It's good.